A lot of these places where we stayed, so the walls are super thin. We've had a couple of situations where people above us were just so loud. The last Airbnb we were in, I mean, it was like a rotating door. One night, or a couple nights, it was like small children were just running across the floor until at least 2 o'clock in the morning and just so loud. Hi, I'm Kim Tolson and I'm the traveling therapist. It's my passion to teach therapists how to navigate online private practices and multiple income streams so they can travel the world. I'm a digital nomad with a virtual insurance-based private therapy practice and a multi-six-figure coaching business. I'm obsessed with entrepreneurship and developing tools that can help therapists live an adventurous lifestyle. In this podcast, I will discuss my journey as a digital nomad. I'll chat with other traveling therapists and help you navigate the complexities of running an online insurance-based practice. I'm so glad to have you with me on this journey. Building a private practice can be challenging. I know for me, when I was starting out, I had no idea how to get referrals. I had no idea how to manage paperwork. I knew nothing about insurance billing. The whole process was really daunting. Building a private practice can be challenging, to say the least. I remember when I was starting out, I had no idea how to get referrals. I had no idea how to navigate insurance. I had no idea even what paperwork was required. So growing a caseload, navigating insurance, and managing billing and paperwork all take significant amounts of time. And that's all in addition to delivering great care to your clients. That's why Alma gives clinicians the tools they need to build a thriving private practice. When you join their insurance program, you can get credentialed within 45 days and access to enhanced reimbursement rates. They also handle all the paperwork from eligibility checks to claim submissions, and they guarantee payment within 2 weeks of each appointment. So in addition to their insurance program, Alma also offers time-saving tools and administrative support, so you can spend less time on paperwork and more time delivering great care to your clients and traveling the world. Learn more about building a thriving private practice with Alma at helloalma.com/Kim. That's helloalma.com/KYM to get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Traveling Therapist Podcast. So I thought I would do a digital nomad update this week. It's been a while since I've done these updates. Gosh, I'm even trying to think where we were. I think the last time I did an update, we were in the Dominican Republic and we had left for about 3 weeks, and then we decided to come back. So I'm down here now sitting in the Dominican Republic still. It's been a total of 4 months, I think, this winter we spent down here, which, it's 87 sunny every single day. It's perfect here. There was a week where it rained all week, but we haven't had any rain since then. So you guys know I like to be super transparent with this journey that I'm on, living the life of a digital nomad. Just a recap, if you're listening to this for the first time, myself and my boyfriend Ken, we live in Airbnbs. We don't have a home base at all. We have a storage unit. Actually, we have 3 storage units now, which I'll explain a little bit. It's kind of insane and expensive. So, initially we downsized and we were like, all right, well, let's keep our furniture because we're not sure if we really actually want to live this lifestyle and what if we hate it. So we put our furniture and a bunch of our stuff in like a 10 by 10 storage unit. We've had that for almost 2 years now at about, well, it started out at like 220. Now it's up to 275. These storage units, I don't know if this is everywhere, but in South Florida, they just like suddenly send you an email and say that the rates have changed. It's part of the contract. They can update these rates whenever they want to, which was sort of sticker shock for the other 2 storage units we recently rented. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But, we kind of regret that decision, holding on to the furniture. We just weren't sure. But now, we've got a huge mess in the storage unit. We don't know what to do with everything. When we came back to Florida briefly between Dominican Republic visits, we did go to the storage unit. I called the Salvation Army and I told them I just had tons of furniture. They have like an online form you can fill out, at least the one in South Florida. You fill it out, you tell them all the stuff that you have, and they'll come pick up a lot of the furniture. Because part of the struggle was, how do we get like a junk truck in here? And then that was going to be like $800 or $900 to pay somebody to do it. So we did end up giving a ton of really nice furniture to Salvation Army. But, we got to that place where it's like, we're weighing, okay, we're paying $250 a month to store this furniture. all this money that we spent, we probably could just have bought new furniture at this point. But, hindsight's 2020 with this. And I guess I'm just saying out there to anybody listening, if you're on the fence about what to do and you think even remotely that you're going to like this lifestyle and want to do it for a while, I would say just get rid of the furniture because it really has cost us. Somebody do the math. I know we're therapists, we don't do math, but 250 about times 2 years. I mean, that's been a lot of money that we've spent to store this stuff when really if we had just gotten rid of the furniture and a lot of just the junk that we don't even need, really just like tidbits and decorations and, like plastic plants and bins full of just old, Band-Aids and just all kinds of just weird stuff in the storage unit. The only thing in there really I need is my old client files before I went to an EHR, because I have to keep them for 7 years. So I had to put them somewhere. So I put them there. I think I'm almost to the 7-year mark of all the paper files. So when we go back to Florida, and I'll talk about that in a minute, I'm going to go just shred all that, go through and make sure I can get rid of everything. I think I'm at the point where I can get rid of all the paper files. Everything else, of course, is in my EHR with Simple Practice. So, I would recommend not storing a ton of stuff if you think you're even remotely going to like it, because now we're like backpedaling. It's like, well, what do we do with all this crap? So we leave here, the Dominican Republic, tentatively on February 10th, and we're going to head back. We basically got an Airbnb right by our storage unit. We booked it for a week, and we're just going to go and take care of the rest of the stuff there and try to figure out what we can keep and how we can downsize even further. We did get rid of all the big stuff, but we have a ton of little stuff that we just didn't even have time to go through, like clothes and just, things we probably will never even wear unless, I do have to go to Oregon for a conference in April, which I know it's going to be cold, but that's really the only time I even foresee being in super cold weather for the foreseeable future. So I've got a ton of like winter clothes and like boots and just all kinds of stuff that there's just really no reason for me to keep them. So I mentioned the other 2 storage units. We have 2 cars and, leaving the country, that's another dilemma that comes up. It's like, what do we do with our cars? So one of them is a nice car. One of them is like a Z4 BMW. We bought it on a whim. Like when we were living in South Florida, it's like, we want a convertible. We just like randomly bought this car. We bought it for too much. It was super expensive, but we also didn't want to just park it somewhere while we're over in the Dominican Republic for 4 months of the year, just leave it somewhere in a parking lot because it's an expensive car with a nice paint job and all of that. So we decided, okay, we'll put it in a storage unit, which when we got the storage unit, it was like $280 to store the car. It's like I can drive the car into it. And then shortly after that, here comes the notice that they're increasing the price to $320, I think, for the storage unit. And we actually got 2 storage units because he has a car too. And he was like, well, I want to store mine also, not just leave it out in the South Florida weather, with the ocean wind and sea air. It really can corrode your car pretty quickly. So now we have 3 storage units, which is just insane. If you're doing the math, that's almost like $1,000 in storage units. So we have to go back. We have to downsize. We're going to keep the 1 storage unit that the little convertible drives into. We're going to keep that one. We're going to put whatever we downsize from the 1 storage unit into the one where we're keeping the red car. And we're just going to try to just have that 1 unit now and pull our cars out, because once we leave the Dominican Republic, we are going to be back in the United States until at least probably May. And then we're planning to go to Europe. So we'll probably have to pick up some storage units again to store the cars. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm just sharing it because I know a lot of you listening are, maybe on the fence. Should I, become a traveling therapist? What do I do with all my stuff? This is just the logistics of how we figured it out. And I like to share that there are mistakes that have been made. We never should have got the storage unit to begin with. We probably, should have sold that convertible or not have bought it to begin with, because it was just like an impulse buy. And now, of course, it's an expensive car. Cars lose value as soon as you drive them off the lot. So if we sold it, we probably would lose money on the car at this point. So mistakes have been made. His car is paid off and it's an SUV. So we probably could have just drove that around and kept that one. But, whatever. Just all that to say, these are just the little things that a lot of people don't really think about when they're getting started with this. And we didn't either. It was like kind of, what did they say? Baptism by fire, really. We just figured it out. as we've gone along. And these are some of the mistakes we've made. But anyway, so that's what's been going on with us. Dominican Republic. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. It's gorgeous, right? The beaches here are gorgeous. The weather's perfect. It hasn't been all like rainbows and sunshine though, like the traveling therapist part of it. So, we don't pay for super expensive Airbnbs, but we do always get places that have at least 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, because we both work from home. He is a big guy. He needs like room to stretch out. So, we do get these, I guess, more expensive Airbnbs, but not super fancy ones. So we've been, I don't know, I think we've stayed 1, 2, 3, I think we've stayed probably 8 places at this point down here, just hopping around different towns and cities, checking out places. But the Airbnbs have not been great. I have to be honest. A lot of the construction is not great in a lot of these places where we stayed. So the walls are super thin. We've had a couple of situations where people above us were just so loud. The last Airbnb we were in, I mean, it was like a rotating door. One night, or a couple nights, it was like small children were just running across the floor until at least 2 o'clock in the morning, and just so loud.
Going in-network with insurance can be tough. For example, waiting a year to get credentialed in some cases. Filing all the right paperwork is time-consuming and tedious, and even after you're done, it can take months to get credentialed and start seeing clients. That's why Alma makes it easy and financially rewarding to accept insurance. When you join the insurance program, you can get credentialed within 45 days and access to enhanced reimbursement rates. They also handle all the paperwork, from eligibility checks to claim submissions, and they guarantee payment within 2 weeks of each appointment. Once you've joined Alma's insurance program, you can see clients in your state of licensure regardless of where you're working from. This is particularly exciting for me as a traveling therapist, as I know it is probably for you too. You can literally be anywhere and still see your clients through Alma. Learn more about building a thriving private practice with Alma at helloalma.com/Kim. That's helloalma.com/KYM to get started.
And then the night after that, it was a couple that had been out drinking in Punta Cana, and they were just like fighting. Like, I think they were even physically fighting each other, which was kind of scary. But needless to say, we didn't sleep for like really 4 days living in that place. And, each of these places, you have to make a decision. Am I going to complain to the people? Is it worth it? Do I need to bring Airbnb into it, get them involved so we can just get out of this place because it's so awful? And there have been a couple times where we have just left because it's just nothing like the listing. It was, the air conditioner didn't work, smells in the apartment, just all kinds of stuff. And, it's not been that great. And usually on travel days, when you get to a new place, you get into a new Airbnb and there's already like problems. It's kind of daunting. It can get really old and tedious, especially when we're moving like every week, every couple of weeks to a new place. It's like you get to a new place and it's like, oh my God, what's wrong here? What's going to be the problem here? And it's almost like it just really can start to wear on you after a while. So I think last week we were like 3 o'clock in the morning with the neighbors yelling above us. We're like, okay, I think we're done. I think we're done with the third world island country for a while. Like, I think we need a break and just go back to the US for a little bit where we can drive our cars to get things if we want, because we don't have vehicles here. It's just easier in the United States. I know that's like a super privileged thing to say, but it's easier. Like, the grocery stores have everything you want. The grocery stores here do not, especially for somebody like me that has dietary restrictions. I can't eat gluten. I'm not really supposed to eat dairy. Most of the restaurants can't accommodate gluten-free. So it's kind of a struggle for me that way, but also just everything seems easier. We could drink water out of the taps in the United States. You can't do that here. You have to make sure you have bottled water all the time. I mean, they have filtration systems, but it's constantly like, we need more water, like that kind of thing. So it's just not as easy. And we were saying the other day, we're just a little bit tired. So we did have like a crossroads, like where we hadn't booked another Airbnb. We're like, maybe we should just change our flight and go back because we're tired. We're just tired of, place to place and having problems with each Airbnb that we go to. something, something different every time. It's like maybe it's the air conditioner or the pool is disgusting. And in the listing, it said it was this beautiful, pristine pool. You can't even get in it. Just little things like that. So, we were like exhausted. We're like, let's just sleep on it when we can actually get some sleep and wait and see what we think in a couple of days. So that did help. And we reevaluated. We're like, all right, we're going to get the next Airbnb is going to be at a better place. New rule. It was actually an old rule, but we broke that rule. We're never going to book a place like, on the bottom floor or the middle floor. We're always going to try to get a top floor place. Here in the Dominican Republic, they have like penthouses. So most of these complexes have like a top floor with a penthouse, and they're usually like $100 more a week. And I don't know why we didn't do that for this last one or this one we're in right now, which does happen to be quiet, thank God. But we're just like going to go back to our rule of if we're living in these like resort complex places that are like just a bunch of condos and stuff, we need to always be on the top floor just because the noise and a bunch of different things. But, ants, lizards, stuff like that can just show up out of nowhere if you're on the bottom floor, and loud neighbors. So that's sort of a revelation that we've had, basically, that we're gonna do better with just trying to stay on the top floor. So as of right now, we are sticking it out until February 10th. And that's what's going on with that. Income streams. I know I talk a lot about these. You guys know I have tons of income streams. I honestly have lost count. I think it was like 15 at the last recording. And of course, I'm always developing new stuff because I've just got this creative brain that can't stop creating things. So let me give you a little update on that. Some of you know I was running the traveling therapist membership. I talk about it in the podcast, and I was super excited about it when it started. I had a business manager at the time who like kind of pushed me into it. She was like, we need to launch something. You haven't launched anything in like a month. We need to, and I was like, all right, well, let's do the traveling therapist membership, because I had really been thinking about it and wanting to do it and offer like really super valuable monthly content to traveling therapists. So we launched it in April, and right off the bat, we got about, I don't know, 150 members, something like that. And then, with any membership, and anybody that's listening, thinking about memberships, there's always this churn or retention rate and where you lose members, just, they can't afford it, or they're not using the content, or they don't like it, or, they just decide they don't want to do it anymore. So that has been a thing and it's a constant struggle. It's like, okay, if you're losing members, that means you've got to be getting new members. So it was really kind of wearing on me, and people weren't really coming to the events. They were watching them later, but there was no interaction. And part of like my value system is I want to offer something that also offers like a supportive community. And I wasn't feeling like the connection really in the community. And it was kind of upsetting me. I just wasn't really feeling it anymore. So I don't know. I talked to my business manager and some of my friends and my boyfriend, and I'm like, it's more stressful than anything, because I'm trying to keep members, get new members, and like schedule these guest experts to come in and bring valuable content. And there's a lot of back and forth trying to get people scheduled. So there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that was happening with it. And one day I was like, you know what? I just don't want to do this anymore. So I sent out an email and I ended the membership. I still had, I think it was like 100 members still. Successful numbers wise. I mean, if you were somebody that was looking at like, why would you stop something that's making you money? That's not necessarily the most important thing to me. The most important thing really is that I feel comfortable with the content and the value that I'm giving to people. And I just felt like the community wasn't connecting right. I don't know. It wasn't working for me. So I ended it. Basically, I just canceled everybody's memberships. I sent out an email and just said, I'm going to put all this content into the traveling therapist course that we've done over the last, 9 months, and, make that course even more valuable than it was before. And I'm just going to put it like on this what they call like an evergreen cycle, where you could just buy the course whenever you want to. And I'm going to make it affordable with tons of content and valuable. And then I'm not going to have to worry about that monthly churn and that, having to get guests each month and, all of that stuff. It was just stressing me out. It just wasn't fitting into the lifestyle I want to be living anymore. So I ended the membership, which was one of 3 memberships. So I still do have 2 other memberships that I run. And those I find a lot of value in. There's great community. There's great connection. I love the content that I'm offering. One is Bill Like a Boss, my insurance billing membership. And the other one is the Clinical AI Club, which if any of you guys know me, you know I'm obsessed with AI. I do everything using it. Excuse me, I do everything using AI. I'm just like totally obsessed with it. So I had the Clinical AI Club and I just love that. I look forward to the content. I look forward to trying to find guests. So it feels different to me. And that's why I decided to let go of the traveling therapist membership. So I know, weird, but it's fitting in better and I'm having more time to actually enjoy the places we're going to. I had Mondays reserved to do the traveling therapist events and I didn't want to do that anymore either. I really want to block out Mondays and Fridays, which I've completely done now. So I'm only going to work on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Tuesdays and Thursdays will be business stuff. And then Wednesday is going to be the very few clients that I have left. And I've actually gotten rid of 2 more clients. So now I'm down to, I think it's officially 3 clients, and I put them on a PRN basis. So if they have something come up and they want to see me, we'll schedule an appointment, but it's not going to be like regularly scheduled appointments anymore because I really am ready to sort of retire from the clinical piece. It just doesn't interest me as much as it used to. And who knows, it could change down the road. But right now, I love the entrepreneurial stuff and creating content. And I love running these 2 memberships that I'm running right now. So that's what's going on with the entrepreneurial piece for me right now. I did launch another podcast. It's called Run Your Private Practice with AI. I just launched it last week. Really excited. I've already had like 500 people subscribe and listen to it. So that's exciting. I'm going to be adding tons of content, but just doing like 15-minute episodes here and there to just update people on things they could do with AI. And I'll be talking a lot more over there over everything I'm doing with AI. If you're in the club or you see me post anywhere, I've just released a free, what would you call it? They call it GPTs. I released a free GPT called Progress Notes AI. If you're on the GPT store, Google Progress Notes AI or search for it in the GPT store. You have to have the paid version, but you'll see my app there. It's free to the public and it helps you write progress notes and a million other things. I've programmed it. It's super cool. I'll put the link here if you guys want to check that out. It's also, I'll talk about it in the podcast, the AI podcast later, probably in a couple episodes. So anyway, that's what's happening in my life. I hope guys helpful. Digital nomads tips and tricks. I think that's all I've got for right now with the storage units and the cars and downsizing and just how to manage all of that stuff. So I hope that was helpful. If you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, please reach out to me. I'm always looking for guests, to help and give episodes and just share their journey and their experiences. Even if you're not a therapist, I'd love to hear from you if you're a traveler or if you have something that would be super helpful for our listeners. And I think that's all I got. Take care, and I will see you next week with a new episode. I hope you have a wonderful traveling therapist life. Thank you so much for listening to the Traveling Therapist podcast. For show notes, links, and downloads, head over to thetravelingtherapist.com, where you'll be able to learn more about my journey, the courses I've created for you, and other exciting resources to make your dreams become a reality. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share with your traveling therapist friends, subscribe to the podcast, and if you loved this episode, please leave a review.